Commander John Miller shifted in his seat as the Galactic Council meeting dragged into its fifth hour. The large circular chamber housed representatives from over 200 species, but John's attention was fixed on the seven-limbed Zolaxian speaker who was, once again, denying Earth's request for advanced shield technology. While we appreciate humanity's enthusiasm, your species simply hasn't demonstrated the necessary evolutionary maturity to handle such powerful defensive systems, the Zolaxian said, its voice translator giving the words a musical quality that contrasted with their dismissive content. John clenched his jaw but maintained his diplomatic smile. This was the third rejection this year. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Council for 48 years now. They had shared medical breakthroughs, innovative engineering solutions, and even sent soldiers to help with peacekeeping missions across the galaxy. Yet they remained classified as a developing species with restricted access to technology that could protect their outer colonies. As the meeting finally adjourned, John gathered his notes and nodded politely to the other representatives. The Midorian delegate, an ancient species known for their wisdom, caught his eye and gave what John interpreted as a sympathetic look. "Patience, Commander Miller," the Midorian said quietly. "Your species moves quickly. The rest of the galaxy prefers a slower pace." "With respect," John replied, "pirates don't attack at a slow pace." Back on his ship, John sent his report to Earth and prepared for the journey home. The quantum communicator chimed just as he was about to enter sleep cycle. Admiral Susan Wright's face appeared on the screen, her expression grim. "Commander, we have a situation. New Montana colony was hit 6 hours ago. Heavy civilian casualties." John sat up straight, fully alert now. "Pirates?" "Yes, the same group we've been tracking near the outer rim. They'd gotten bolder, hitting larger settlements. New Montana had basic shields, but nothing that could stop military-grade weapons." "Weapons they shouldn't have," John muttered. "Exactly. I'm calling an emergency meeting with the president. Get back here as fast as you can." 3 days later, John sat in the White House Situation Room with Admiral Wright, President Diane Carter, and the heads of Earth's unified defense forces. The images from New Montana colony were displayed on the main screen. Destroyed buildings, medical teams working frantically, body bags lined up in neat rows. 342 dead, Admiral Wright said, including 67 children. President Carter stared at the images, her face hard with anger. And the council's response. John cleared his throat. "They've expressed their condolences and promised to form a committee to investigate the source of the pirates' weapons." "A committee," the president repeated flatly. "They estimate it will take 6 to 8 months to complete their investigation and make recommendations." Admiral Wright slammed her hand on the table. "By then, we could lose 3 more colonies." The room fell silent for a long moment. Then President Carter looked at each person around the table. "For nearly 50 years, we've played by their rules," she said quietly. "We've contributed research, resources, and lives to their causes. We've accepted their restrictions and their patronizing attitudes. And what has it gotten us? Our people are dying while the council forms committees." John felt the weight of the moment. Something fundamental was about to change. "I want options," the president continued. "All options, including withdrawal from the Galactic Council." The defense secretary looked shocked. "Madam President, no species has ever withdrawn from the council. The diplomatic and economic consequences would be—" "I'm well aware of the potential consequences," she interrupted. "But I'm more concerned with the actual consequences of staying in a partnership that doesn't protect our citizens." Admiral Wright nodded slowly. "We've been developing our own defense technologies in parallel. Without council restrictions, we could accelerate those programs significantly." "Commander Miller," the president turned to John, "you've spent more time with these species than anyone in this room. If we withdrew from the council, what would their reaction be?" John considered the question carefully. Initial disbelief, followed by dismissal. "They view us as impulsive children. They'd expect us to come crawling back within a year." And if we didn't, then they'd have to face the possibility that they misjudged us, something most of them are not equipped to handle. President Carter stood up. Prepare the necessary protocols. In 3 days, Earth withdraws from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Eric Ross stood tall as he entered the great chamber of the Galactic Council. The normal buzz of conversation died down as he approached the speaker's platform. Many alien representatives leaned forward in their seats, curious about the unscheduled human address. Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, Eric began, his voice steady despite the gravity of his message. For 48 years, humanity has been a member of this esteemed body. We have shared our knowledge, contributed our resources, and fought alongside you in times of crisis. He paused, looking around the chamber at the various alien faces. Some showed interest, others boredom, as if this was just another human emotional display. Today, I come with a message from Earth's unified government. After careful consideration, humanity has decided to withdraw from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The chamber erupted in noise. The Zolaxian representative rose to his feet, all 7 limbs gesturing in agitation. The ancient Midorian delegate simply closed his eyes in what might have been resignation. Several representatives from younger species looked alarmed. The High Counselor, a tall, pale Illuvian with 4 eyes, raised her hand for silence. Ambassador Ross, surely this is an overreaction to recent events. The Council has already formed a committee to investigate the pirate attacks on your colonies. Eric nodded respectfully. We appreciate that, High Counselor. However, humanity has determined that our goals and the Council's methods are no longer compatible. We have contributed much but received little protection in return. Our people are dying while committees deliberate. A Voltar representative, his scaled skin gleaming under the chamber lights, spoke next. The humans are being typical of their species. Impatient, emotional. They'll come back once they realize how much they need us. Several representatives nodded in agreement. Eric noticed the dismissive glances exchanged between elder species, exactly as Commander Miller had predicted. We have already begun the process of withdrawing our personnel from joint projects, Eric continued, ignoring the interruption. Human ships will return to Earth space within the month. We will, of course, honor all existing trade contracts until their expiration dates. Back on Earth, President Carter stood before the United Nations Assembly. The chamber was packed with representatives from every nation, and billions more watched the broadcast worldwide. Citizens of Earth, she began, today marks a turning point in human history. Our withdrawal from the Galactic Council was not a decision made lightly, but it was a necessary one. Screens behind her showed images of the New Montana attack, alongside graphs depicting the technological divide between Earth and advanced Council species. For too long, we have been treated as junior partners, denied the very technology that could save human lives. The resources we previously sent to Council projects will now strengthen our independent defense initiatives. Our focus must be the safety of our own people. Across Council space, human workers packed their belongings. Research scientists downloaded their personal notes before leaving alien labs. Military advisors said goodbye to alien comrades they had trained alongside. In the empty Council chamber, long after the formal session had ended, 2 figures remained. The elder Midorian delegate, Sixkla, sat with the Illuvian High Counselor. You realize what we've lost today? Sixkla asked quietly. The High Counselor waved a slender hand dismissively. The humans are young and impulsive. They'll struggle without our guidance and return within a year. Sixkla slowly shook his head. His species had lived for millions of years, observing the rise and fall of many civilizations. You fail to understand what makes humans unique, he said. While we deliberate based on patterns established over millennia, they innovate rapidly, solving problems in ways we would never consider. Without them, our established patterns will calcify. You give them too much credit, the High Counselor replied. And you too little, Sixkla said softly. Mark my words, their absence will be felt far sooner than you imagine. As the last human ships left Council space, an uneasy quiet settled across the galaxy. The great machine of interstellar cooperation continued to turn, but a vital component was now missing. Few yet realized how important that component had been. 6 months after Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, Dr. Alan Peters stared at his computer screen with growing concern. He had been monitoring alien news networks out of habit, even though he was no longer part of the Council's emergency response team. What he saw troubled him deeply. A quantum plague, he muttered to himself as he read the reports. The Council's central communication network, a biological digital hybrid system, was being ravaged by some kind of infection. The system connected thousands of worlds across Council space, and its failure would be catastrophic. Under normal circumstances, Alan would have been called to help. His specialty was the intersection of biology and digital systems, but Earth was no longer part of the Council, and no call for help had come. He took the reports to his supervisor at Earth's Advanced Research Division. "We need to do something," Alan insisted. "This plague is spreading faster than their containment protocols can handle." His supervisor frowned. "The Council hasn't asked for our help, Dr. Peters. They've made it clear they don't need humans meddling in their affairs. But people will die if interstellar communication fails. Medical shipments won't reach outer colonies. Emergency responses will be delayed." After a heated debate, Alan was given permission to form a small team to study the problem. Unofficially, they worked day and night, analyzing the patterns of the quantum plague from the limited data available. "They're approaching this all wrong," Alan explained to his team after 3 days of intensive work. "The Council experts are treating this like previous outbreaks, using established protocols. But this plague adapts to those very protocols. It's using their methodical approach against them." Within a week, Alan's team had developed a potential solution. But when they tried to contact the Council, they hit a wall of bureaucracy. Earth had no official channels to share their findings. "We could send the solution through private networks," suggested Dr. Lena Kim, one of Alan's colleagues. "I still have contacts at the Centauri Research Hub." They tried, but their messages were ignored or treated with suspicion. The plague continued to spread, crippling communication across 17 systems. Meanwhile, in Earth's Space Defense Force headquarters, Major Karen Phillips led a team of officers through battle simulations. Without Council restrictions, Earth's military had been developing new technologies and tactics at an unprecedented pace. "The key is unpredictability," Karen explained as her officers watched holographic ships maneuver in complex patterns. "Alien combat tactics rely on established patterns developed over centuries. They expect enemies to follow similar logic. Our advantage is thinking differently." Admiral Susan Wright observed the simulation with satisfaction. The ships under Karen's command had just defeated an enemy force 3 times their size. "How soon until these tactics can be implemented fleet-wide?" Susan asked. "Training programs are already running on all major vessels," Karen replied. "And the new shield designs from Dr. Chen's team are being installed as we speak. They're not as advanced as what the Council has, but they're completely different in approach. Any pirates with Council-derived weapons won't know how to counter them." Susan nodded. "Good. Our colonies need protection now, not after some committee decides we're mature enough." Back at the research center, Alan finally received news from his old colleague on Centauri Prime. The quantum plague had reached their system, crippling local networks. Now they were willing to try his solution. "It's too late for a complete containment," Alan told his team as they packaged their work for transmission. "The plague has already spread too far, but we can help them recover faster." Across Council space, the first real consequences of humanity's absence were being felt. The communication breakdown lasted for months, disrupting trade, aid, and security operations throughout the galaxy. Elder species who had dismissed humans as impulsive children began to wonder if they had misjudged the situation. On Earth, humans continued to develop along their own path, no longer constrained by Council conventions. Their technology advanced in unexpected directions, their colonies grew stronger under independent protection, and their confidence increased with each passing day. 2 years had passed since humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. Commander Ryan Garcia stood before a large holographic display in Earth's Intelligence Division headquarters. The map showed a troubling pattern of movement across Council space. The Voltar hegemony has seized control of these 3 systems in the past month alone, Ryan explained to Admiral Susan Wright. They claim they're securing unstable regions following the communication disruptions, but it's clearly an expansion of their territory. Susan studied the map with a frown. And the Council's response? Minimal. They're tied up in internal disputes. Without humanity serving as a neutral intermediary, old rivalries have resurfaced. Ryan zoomed in on another sector of the map. The Exurian Collective is mobilizing in response to Voltar movements. We could be looking at the first major interspecies conflict in over 3 centuries. Susan shook her head in disbelief. I never expected the power dynamics to shift this dramatically in such a short time. We didn't realize how much the Council relied on us as mediators, Ryan said. They viewed us as junior partners, but we were actually the glue holding competing interests together. Across Council space, the Interstellar Trade Commission was in turmoil. For decades, humans had served as neutral arbitrators between species with vastly different economic systems. Their absence had revealed deep corruption among senior alien commissioners. On the bustling trade hub of Meridian Station, merchants from a dozen species argued loudly in the central marketplace. Prices for essential goods had doubled, then tripled as supply chains collapsed. This would never have happened with human arbitrators, grumbled a 4-armed Telosian merchant as he packed his unsold wares. They had no ancient alliances to honor, no historical grudges to settle. They just wanted fair deals. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Diane Carter met with her economic advisors. The holographic displays showed a very different picture from the chaos in Council space. Our productivity is up 28% since withdrawal, reported the economic minister. Resources that once flowed outward to Council projects now strengthen our own industries. The new colony on Titan's moon is ahead of schedule, and the terraforming project on Mars has accelerated by 3 years. And our defensive capabilities? The President asked. Exceeding projections, Admiral Wright answered. Major Phillips' combat doctrines have been implemented across the fleet. Our ships are faster, more maneuverable, and use energy more efficiently than Council standard designs. The research division has developed shield technology that works on completely different principles from Council systems, added the science minister. Dr. Peters adapted concepts from his quantum plague solution. Our approach isn't more advanced than the Council's best technology, but it's so different that conventional weapons don't know how to counter it. President Carter nodded with satisfaction. When we left the Council, many feared we would fall behind without access to their knowledge base. Instead, we flourished by following our own path. In a distant sector of Council space, the Midorian delegate Tiskla observed the growing chaos with sadness. His species had lived long enough to recognize patterns of decline. The Council chamber, once a place of reasoned debate, had become a theater of posturing and threats. 3 major powers were now openly preparing for possible conflict. Tiskla retreated to his private quarters and activated a secure communication system that bypassed the still-recovering Council networks. He hesitated before entering the coordinates. What he planned was unprecedented, perhaps even treasonous by Council standards. But the alternative was worse. I must speak with Earth's leadership, he told his most trusted aide. The Council is fracturing, and the consequences will be devastating. They won't admit it, but they need humanity's help. His aide looked alarmed. The Council has forbidden direct diplomatic contact with Earth. The Council is blinded by pride, Tiskla replied. Sometimes wisdom requires breaking rules that no longer serve their purpose. As his message transmitted across the vast distance to Earth, Tiskla gazed out at the stars. The galaxy stood at a tipping point. The next moves would determine whether a new balance could be found. or whether chaos would consume them all. Earth's outer defense grid detected the small diplomatic vessel long before it reached the solar system. It followed no known council flight pattern and responded to hails with an unexpected message, requesting audience with Earth leadership, bearing peaceful intentions and urgent information. Midorian delegate Tiskla aboard. The news reached President Diane Carter during her morning briefing. She looked up from the report with surprise. A Midorian, coming here directly against council orders. Admiral Susan Wright nodded. The Midorians are one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They rarely act impulsively. If Tiskla is risking council punishment to speak with us, something serious must be happening. After much debate among her advisors, President Carter authorized the visit. The alien ship was escorted to Earth by a squadron of the newest human defense vessels, a show of both caution and strength. In a secure meeting room beneath the White House, Tiskla sat across from Earth's leadership. His tall, slender form seemed fragile, but his large eyes held wisdom accumulated over centuries of life. The Council is fracturing, he explained without preamble. 3 major powers are positioning for war. Trade has collapsed in the outer systems, and technological advancement has stagnated. He placed a data crystal on the table. This contains information about current council status that your intelligence networks cannot access. You will see that the situation is dire. Commander Ryan Garcia reviewed the data while the others spoke. His face grew increasingly troubled. The Voltar hegemony has seized 8 more systems since our last intelligence update, he reported, and the Xerian Collective is mobilizing their entire fleet. This could explode into full-scale war within months. Why come to us? President Carter asked Tiskla directly. Earth left the Council. These conflicts are no longer our concern. Because the Council severely misjudged humanity's role in galactic stability, Tiskla admitted. You were classified as a developing species, but your unique perspective was the hidden foundation of many Council successes. Without your creative problem-solving and mediation, ancient patterns of conflict have reemerged. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Admiral Wright spoke. What exactly are you proposing? We won't rejoin the Council under the old terms. I am not here officially, Tiskla clarified. I represent a coalition of mid-tier species who recognize the Council's errors. We seek limited diplomatic engagement with Earth, an alliance outside Council structures. The debate lasted for days. Some human leaders wanted nothing to do with alien politics again. Others saw opportunity in a limited return to galactic affairs. In her private office, President Carter consulted with Dr. Lisa Murphy, Earth's leading xenobiologist. The Midorian homeworld is facing a brutal famine, Lisa explained, reviewing Tiskla's data. Their primary food-producing regions were dependent on specialized pollinators that have been dying off since the communication disruptions prevented crucial research sharing. Can we help them? The president asked. We've developed similar solutions for our Martian colonies. With some adaptation, yes. President Carter made her decision. Earth would engage in limited diplomatic relations with Tiskla's coalition. They would share information and humanitarian aid, but maintain their military independence. Dr. Murphy led a team to help contain the famine affecting Tiskla's homeworld. They worked alongside alien scientists who initially viewed the humans with suspicion, but gradually came to respect their unconventional approaches. On a hill overlooking one of the restored Midorian fields, Lisa stood with a local scientist named Mrektal. The once barren ground now teemed with new hybrid plants designed to thrive in the changing conditions. Your species solves problems differently than any I have encountered, Mrektal observed. You see possibilities where we see only established patterns. It's both our strength and our weakness, Lisa replied. We don't have centuries of wisdom to guide us, so we have to improvise. As the first successful harvest began, news arrived from human intelligence networks. The Voltar hegemony and Xerian Collective had moved their fleets into position. Despite Tiskla's coalition's efforts, war seemed inevitable. The uneasy peace that had held the galaxy together for centuries was about to shatter completely. The 5th anniversary of Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council arrived with grim news. The long-feared war between the Voltar hegemony and the Exarian Collective had finally erupted. Initial reports showed devastating casualties as advanced weapons tore through planetary shields on border worlds. In the White House Situation Room, President Diane Carter and her advisors watched footage of the conflict. Dozens of systems were caught in the crossfire, with civilian evacuations overwhelmed by the speed of the Voltar advance. "The Council is paralyzed," Commander Ryan Garcia reported. "They've issued formal condemnations, but can't agree on intervention measures. Their peacekeeping fleet is divided along factional lines." "And Tuscala's coalition?" the president asked. "They're trying to coordinate refugee relief, but their resources are stretched thin. 3 of their member worlds are directly in the path of the Voltar fleet." Admiral Susan Wright stepped forward. "Madam President, we need to decide our position. We've spent 5 years building up Earth's defenses and technology. We're safer than we've ever been if we choose to remain isolated." Ambassador Eric Ross, recently returned from meetings with Tuscala's coalition, shook his head. "If these major powers continue unchecked, the war will eventually reach our sector. Better to address it now, from a position of strength, than wait until they're at our doorstep." President Carter studied the galactic map. "What options do we have?" Admiral Wright outlined a daring plan. Earth's newly developed warships, incorporating both human innovation and adapted alien technology, would position themselves between the warring factions. Their goal wouldn't be to defeat either side, but to force a ceasefire through a display of unexpected firepower and diplomatic pressure. "It's risky," Admiral Wright admitted. "But our ships have systems neither side has encountered before. That gives us a temporary advantage of uncertainty." After hours of debate, President Carter made her decision. "We'll intervene, but with clear limits. Our priority is stopping the war, not picking a side." Captain Frank Ortiz, commander of Earth's most advanced vessel, the Defiant, received his orders with surprise. 5 years ago, humans had been denied access to basic defensive technology. Now they were about to insert themselves between 2 major galactic powers. "Our mission is to create a buffer zone around these neutral systems," Frank told his crew, indicating a cluster of worlds caught between the warring factions. "We'll use our shield technology to protect civilian targets while demonstrating our offensive capabilities to both sides." The Earth fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly between the advancing battle groups. The Voltar commander, expecting no resistance, was caught off guard when his first wave of attack craft encountered unfamiliar energy fields that rendered their weapons ineffective. "This is Captain Frank Ortiz of the Earth Defense Force." Frank broadcast on all frequencies. "We have established a neutral zone. Any vessels entering this zone will be considered hostile and engaged accordingly." A Voltar battleship moved forward, testing the humans' resolve. The Defiant responded with a precisely targeted energy burst that disabled the battleship's main drives without destroying the vessel. The demonstration had its intended effect. Both the Voltar and Xarian commanders requested communication with the unexpected human force. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Murphy worked with scientists from non-aligned worlds on a different approach to the conflict. The war was fundamentally about resources, specifically habitable worlds with rare mineral deposits. What if we could make those resources less scarce? Lisa proposed to her international team. "We've developed terraforming techniques on Mars that work 10 times faster than Council standard methods." Her team created a proposal. Using human terraforming technology, contested worlds could be made habitable and productive within years instead of centuries. The resources everyone was fighting over could become abundant enough to share. As Captain Ortiz maintained the fragile ceasefire in space, Dr. Murphy's team prepared their presentation for both warring factions. Earth, once dismissed as an impulsive child among the stars, was now the only force capable of preventing a galactic catastrophe. "We didn't want this role," President Carter told her advisors as she reviewed the latest reports. But perhaps this is where humanity truly belongs, not following ancient patterns, but breaking them when they no longer serve the greater good. Captain Frank Ortiz stood before the emergency session of what remained of the Galactic Council. The Grand Chamber felt different than in the recordings he had studied during his training years. Many seats remained empty, with several elder species having withdrawn in the chaos of recent months. Frank did not come as a supplicant, as human representatives once had. He came as the commander whose fleet had successfully halted a war that could have consumed half the galaxy. Humanity will not rejoin the Council as it was, Frank stated clearly. His voice carried through the chamber without amplification. But we propose a new interstellar compact based on mutual respect and transparent technology sharing. The Voltar representative hissed softly. You would dictate terms to species that were crossing the stars when your kind still lived in caves. We offer a choice, Frank replied evenly. Continue clinging to hierarchies that are clearly failing, or build something new that serves all species regardless of their age. From the side chamber, Tiscala emerged with Dr. Lisa Murphy and representatives from 17 mid-tier species. They had spent the past week drafting the framework for a new form of galactic cooperation. The Interstellar Alliance, Lisa explained, activating a hologram that displayed the proposed structure. A coalition where technological contribution, not age of spaceflight, determines influence. Every member would have guaranteed access to defensive technology and emergency aid. The High Counselor looked aghast. You would dismantle thousands of years of tradition based on a few years of difficulty. The difficulty, Tiscala said gently, has revealed fundamental flaws in our system. When humans left, the Council lost more than we realized. Their perspective was valuable precisely because it was different from our ancient patterns. Over the next 3 days, debate raged in the Council chamber. Several elder species walked out in protest, declaring they would form their own isolated coalition, rather than accept equal status with younger races. Others reluctantly acknowledged that the humans' intervention had prevented a catastrophic war. In the end, the old council structure was dissolved. In its place rose the Interstellar Alliance, with Earth as a founding member with full voting rights. Back on Earth, the decision to re-engage with galactic politics faced criticism. Admiral Susan Wright resigned her position in protest. We fought for 5 years to establish our independence, she told President Carter in her resignation letter. Now we risk becoming entangled in alien politics again. The president understood her concerns. But as the first alien ships arrived to participate in joint defense exercises under the new alliance protocols, many skeptics began to reconsider. At the Space Defense Academy, Major Karen Phillips watched human and alien crews training together with a mix of emotions. The difference this time, she explained to her students, is that we're not following their rules. We're creating new ones together. A Syrian officer demonstrated maneuvers to a group of human pilots while nearby. Human engineers explained their shield modifications to interested alien technicians. The exchange flowed in both directions, without the patronizing attitude that had once defined Council relations with Earth. In his private quarters, Captain Ortiz received a secure message from President Carter. The transition isn't smooth, she wrote, but we've accomplished something unprecedented. Humanity didn't just return to the galactic community. We helped transform it into something better. Your actions in preventing the war were crucial to this outcome. Frank looked out his viewport at the stars. 5 years ago, humanity had walked away from the Galactic Council, believing isolation was their only path to security. Now they had returned on their own terms, as equals rather than junior partners. Not all species accepted the new reality. The isolationist coalition of elder races watched the formation of the alliance with disdain, certain it would collapse without their guidance. The Voltar hegemony participated reluctantly, still smarting from their confrontation with human ships. But across dozens of worlds, beings who had previously been marginal voices in galactic affairs embraced the promise of the new alliance. Species that had developed along different evolutionary paths found that their diverse perspectives strengthened rather than weakened their collective efforts. Humanity had abandoned the Galactic Council and chaos had followed, but from that chaos, something new and potentially better had emerged. 10 years after humanity's dramatic exit from the Galactic Council, Commander Olivia Martinez stood at the viewport of the Earth diplomatic vessel as it approached Centauri Prime. The planet glowed blue-green against the darkness of space, its orbital stations bustling with ships from 200 different species. "Nervous?" asked Skla, who now served as Earth's chief alien advisor. The elder Midorian had officially joined Earth's diplomatic corps 5 years earlier, after his exile from his homeworld for betraying council principles. "A little," Olivia admitted. "Today's ceremony makes it all official. The Interstellar Alliance Charter will replace the last remaining structures of the old council." Sikla's expression shifted and what Olivia had learned was a Midorian smile. "Your species did what none other could. You forced galactic civilization to evolve by demonstrating its fundamental weaknesses." The landing bay was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Some still viewed humans with suspicion, but many others nodded respectfully as Olivia led the Earth delegation through the grand hallways of the former council headquarters. In the Great Chamber, President Diane Carter waited with leaders from 30 key worlds. Her hair had grayed during her decade in office, but her posture remained strong and confident. This ceremony would be her final act as president before retiring next month. 10 years ago, I made the hardest decision of my career," she told Olivia quietly as they prepared for the ceremony. "I pulled humanity out of the galactic community with no guarantee we would ever return. I never imagined we would come back to help reshape it." The ceremony began with representatives from each founding world adding their genetic signature to the charter, a symbolic gesture showing their commitment to the new order. When President Carter stepped forward to sign for Earth, the chamber fell silent. The charter's first principle appeared on screens around the room. All sentient species, regardless of development stage, possess unique perspectives valuable to our shared civilization. Technology and knowledge shall be the common heritage of all Alliance members. A decade ago, this principle would have been unthinkable, the Exarian representative observed. Now it seems obvious that diversity of thought leads to stronger solutions. After the signing, smaller groups broke off for focused discussions. Dr. Lisa Murphy, now the head of Earth's Scientific Exchange Program, sought out Olivia with exciting news. The collaborative research between human and alien scientists has produced breakthroughs that neither would have achieved alone. Lisa explained, her eyes bright with excitement. "We've developed a prototype for an entirely new form of faster-than-light travel." She showed Olivia images of a sleek ship unlike any current vessel. It doesn't force its way through space-time like current drives. Instead, it harmonizes with natural quantum fluctuations. It's 3 times faster than the best council technology and uses half the energy. "When will it be ready for testing?" Olivia asked. "The prototype is already built," Lisa replied, "and it already has a name." Later that evening, Olivia stood with President Carter and Tiskla on the observation deck overlooking the shipyard. Below them sat a vessel unlike any other, with smooth lines that seemed to flow like water frozen in motion. "Second Chance," President Carter read the name emblazoned on the hull. "Appropriate. Earth took a chance by leaving the council," Tiskla observed, "then took another by coming back on new terms. This ship represents our third chance, to explore the galaxy as true partners." As the Earth delegation prepared to return home, Olivia received a message from Captain Frank Ortiz, now Admiral of the Alliance Defense Fleet. "The isolationist coalition is showing signs of reconsidering their position," he reported. 3 elder species have sent unofficial representatives to observe Alliance operations. They're too proud to admit it openly, but they're impressed by what we've built. On the journey back to Earth, Olivia worked on her report about the ceremony. So much had changed in 10 years. Humanity had gone from junior partners to equal members of a galactic community. Their unique perspective, once dismissed as immaturity, was now valued for the creative solutions it offered. The star map on her console showed hundreds of worlds connected by lines of trade, research, and cooperation. The galaxy wasn't perfect. Conflicts still arose. Disagreements still required mediation. But the rigid hierarchies that had stifled progress for millennia were gone. Humanity had abandoned the Galactic Council, and chaos had followed. But from that chaos had emerged a stronger, more equal community of species, ready to face the future together.